Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3696BN. Today's date is July 28th, 2025, and the thought of the episode is Strzok scrubbed his tweets in the Wayback Machine, Obama panic, D5, information warfare. Hey, you know what's really interesting? I was online the other day and I stumbled across this video. It was from Chuck Norris. Yeah, it was insane. He's in his 80s and he says he still feels like he's in his 50s. It was pretty shocking. He had some pretty cool tips in there too on what he's doing, including these 3 foods that he avoids like the plague. First, I was a little bit skeptical. He explained all the things he was doing and it was super simple. Then I tried some of them and they were so easy. I'm even feeling amazing now too. At first, I didn't really want to share the info, but I thought, hey, you all are so loyal to me and listen, so I had to share it with all of you. Since what happened to Chuck and me could also happen for you too, but with any new method, of course, your result can vary. But the video is definitely worth checking out. And I was able to get this special link just for all of you. Watch the video now at chuckdefense.com/x22. That's chuckdefense.com/x22. Make it even easier. I linked it below in the video and you can check it out yourself. It's pretty quick and seriously, it's been a game changer and want you all to check it out right now. Go to chuckdefense.com/x22. Watch the video. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, you can tell that the deep state players that pushed the Russia hoax, overthrew the United States government, pushed the indictments, the impeachment hoax, tried to assassinate Trump, you could see that they are now panicked. How do we know this? Well, certain individuals that were involved in the Russia hoax, they are now deleting their posts on X, which once again, you can delete them, but they're never really gone. But they even took it a step further. It looks like Strzok, who actually deleted his posts on X, he decided to scrub his tweets in the Wayback Machine. So you couldn't look back in history to find certain things that he said. Now, that is very interesting, and a lot of people are now looking at this saying, well, who gave him access to this? Well, it looks like you can actually kind of do this yourself, but the question is, why would he do this if he did nothing wrong? You see, the cover-up always gets you in the end, and Obama is continually trying to spin what he actually did in his last days as president. And once again, as he continually spins the information to cover up what he did, Tulsi comes out and says, no, that's not true. The fake news is trying to run cover, but it's not working. And you can see those individuals that are in the fake news, they are also panicking right now because Tulsi Gabbard is calling them out, saying that they knowingly cooperated with all these individuals. And what do you think is going to happen to the Pulitzer Prize that, the New York Times won and a couple other people won? It's going to have to be returned. Actually, it should have been returned a long time ago. Remember, we are in an information war right now. And Trump and the Patriots, they're using information to actually corner and trap the deep state players. And it is working. This is just the beginning. And you're going to see these people panic. And remember, what we're witnessing, everything that we're seeing is going to pick up momentum. We're going to see an avalanche like we've never seen before. And it's going to grow in size as it comes down the hill. Because remember, it's not just Russian collusion. This goes all the way back to when Obama first came into office, when he overthrew the United States government back then. And then he tried in 2016. He tried in 2020. Trump allowed it to happen because he needed to catch them in the act and he needed to take full control of the country. And he needed to wake up the people by making them think that they were in control of the situation and they had the ability to do what they wanted to do, and that was to destroy this country. And they tried again in 2024. Trump has caught them in the act multiple times. And when you start to put all this together and you start to put the Epstein stuff together, this is now forming the biggest, greatest storm that we have ever seen. It's the perfect storm. And yes, Epstein is a very big part of it. And this is why Trump allowed the deep state players to move forward with their agenda of trying to push the manipulated information. Actually, Trump is even saying that, yeah, the information is fake. That's what they're trying to push. And if you notice, Trump and the Patriots, they have now come out with the narrative that, yes, we want all the credible information about Epstein to come out. Not the deep state information, the credible information. You know, the information that is backed up in facts, court documents, witness testimony, not from anonymous sources or made up information. So they've already changed what the deep state has been trying to do. They've already changed what the influencers, what the fake news was trying to force Trump to do. And now they're saying, yes, if it's credible and is backed up by facts, we will be releasing it. We need documentation. This is why Trump has ordered the grand jury information. He instructed the DOJ, okay, tell the judges this is what we want. We want it released. Remove the redactions. And he knew exactly what was going to happen. He knew that the Obama-appointed judges, they were going to say, oh, no, we're not releasing this. So basically, he just turned the table on them and said, okay, who's keeping the information back? Is it me? No, absolutely not. I want credible information. Johnson even says, we need credible information. So who's keeping the grand jury information? Don't you want to see that? It must be very important if the Obama judges don't want to release that. And now you could see Dick Durbin, you know, the guy that hid the Epstein information, didn't want anyone to see, didn't want it released. Now he wants the conversation that Ghislaine had with Todd Blanche. Isn't that interesting? Are they panicking a little bit? Are they worried about this new credible information that is going to actually cut through their crap? Of course they are. But Trump, he's using this to his advantage. He has them calling for it. Now the fake news is reporting on it. Now all the people in the country know about it. I mean, you couldn't plan this any better. Absolutely amazing. Because in the end, when Trump shows more of the Russian collusion information, when Trump shows the impeachment information, when he shows the attempted assassination information, when he brings out how they overthrew the United States government and tried multiple times in different years, he's going to top all of this off with Epstein. I mean, really think about this for a second. Remember, we're in an information war right now. He's using information to attack the deep state players. If you notice, he's much more bold right now. He's much more confident right now because he has the power, he has the leverage. Wait until you see what it looks like after we take control of the House and we take control of the Senate. Trump is going to have all the power. And you're going to see he's not going to hold back whatsoever. And we're going to be talking a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, let's talk about what Bezos is doing right now, because it looks like he's continually dumping his stock. And recently he just dumped about $5.7 billion in Amazon stock. And now there's rumors out there that Bezos is going to be purchasing CNBC. Doesn't he own the Washington Post? That's a propaganda outlet. Is he going to make CNBC a bigger propaganda outlet? Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that's very interesting, and we mentioned this yesterday, Data Republican, she was tracking down where all the money went for all the donations. Because remember, Elizabeth Warren and Gavin Newsom, they're saying, oh, yeah, donate. We got to donate to the LA wildfires. We got to build up our coffers. We got to stop the fires. And she went down in real time of where this money goes. And what she's come to find out is that the money really doesn't go to where you think it's going to go. And she did a little bit of an update. And the graph or the diagram that she created, it looks like a spaghetti mess of where this money actually goes. And this is what she says. I've been asked about the LA wildfire donation scandal. Here's the truth. It's standard operating procedure in most nonprofits. Only a small fraction of your donation reaches the front lines. If this qualifies as a scandal, then the entire nonprofit sector is a scandal. Lawmakers shouldn't treat this as an isolated case. They should treat it as a call to overhaul a broken, opaque system. The graph below shows the 501c3 grant network for the Barack Obama Foundation, but it could be almost any major nonprofit. They all look like this. You have no idea where this information, where the money's going, because it looks like a spaghetti model right now. And it looks very, very confusing. And they do this on purpose, so you really don't know where the money actually goes. And we know that most of this information that you donate does not go to the front lines. I do believe it goes from NGO to NGO and NGO. They take a little bit of piece from each one of these. By the time the money actually reaches where it's supposed to go, there's nothing left. And this is why when you look at Haiti, when you look at, USA for Africa, when you look at the donations to the Maui fire, the LA fires, or anything, the money never, ever gets there because that's not what this is for. They used Hollywood to convince you that they're doing a good thing. They play on your emotional strings to donate. Oh, look, I'm doing a really good thing. I'm donating. I'm helping these people out. That's not what you're doing. You're actually funding the deep state operation. That's what's really happening. And now it's being exposed to the public, and the public are now learning all about this. Just like they're learning about how the illegals in this country actually are criminals. They're child traffickers, human traffickers, rapists, terrorists, cartel members, gang members, you name it. The people have now learned this. They understand it. And they realize that this is a major, major problem. Libs at TikTok put this out and said, say their names. Brady Healing, 19. Haley Hegelson, 18. A sweet couple who were driving together when their lives were cut short by an illegal from Honduras who was drunk driving the wrong way and crashed into them. 160 Democrats voted against a bill to deport illegal drunk driving. Basically, Democrats, they want the criminal illegals roaming our country. This is their foot soldiers. This is who they use. They need these people in this country. Number one, they need it for illegal voting. Number two, they need it for when they're called upon to riot and destroy and kill and maim. Number three, they need it to blend this country because they want to destroy the country. Number four, they need the illegals here because basically it's a revenue stream. And this is another revenue stream. This is where they make their money. This is why they like open borders, because they can traffic drugs, they can traffic children, they can traffic women, they could do all of these things. And this is why the cartels were making so much money. Who do you think was involved with that? The deep state players. And you could see that Peekaboo James, she is now going to file a lawsuit against the Trump administration. Why? Because she's trying to keep illegal aliens on SNAP benefits. So wait a minute. I thought illegals weren't getting any benefits. It seems like the D's right now, they're actually saying the quiet part out loud, and they are now protecting illegals. Mike Davis responded to all this and said, Dear Big Tish James, harboring illegal aliens is a federal felony. 8 USC section 1324. Lawyer up. Absolutely. And you can see the D's, they love to put on a show about the different ICE facilities. And basically, they really don't want to tour the ICE facilities. They just want to make a really big show. They want the press to come, and they actually set it up to make sure that they don't actually tour the ICE facility. Because if they actually toured the ICE facilities, you know what they would see? They would see the opposite of what they're reporting. So they don't actually want to retort. They just want the publicity, and they want this message out there. Representative Johnny Olszewski put this out and said, my Maryland colleagues and I were denied entry to the Baltimore ICE Detention Center despite following all legal requirements. Congress has a legal right to inspect ICE facilities amid reports of inhumane conditions. This refusal is alarming. We won't stop fighting for the illegals. Of course they won't. These are their constituents. But Homeland Security responded to this and said the following. Congressman, if you need a photo op with the violent criminal illegal aliens you are protecting, schedule a tour. As for visits to detention facilities, requests should be made with sufficient time to prevent interference with the President's Article 2 authority to oversee executive department functions. A week is sufficient to ensure no intrusion on the president's constitutional authority. To protect the president's Article 2 authority, any request to shorten that time must be approved by the secretary. Now, once again, did they actually do this? No. They just wanted the photo op. They wanted the publicity. They just wanted it out there. Because, again, if they actually took the tour, you know what they would see? They would see, oh, everything that we said is completely and utterly fake. They don't want the people to see that. So this is how they push their fake information. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that we know in certain states, like Maine, they were making illegals police officers. So illegals who are not citizens of this country, they now have the ability to actually arrest citizens. I mean, really think about it. This is like mind-blowing. It's unbelievable. Bill Malugin put this out and said the following. ICE confirms they have arrested a Jamaican illegal alien who is employed as a police officer in Maine after he illegally attempted to buy a gun, which triggered an alert to ATF. ICE says John Luke Evans, who is in the U.S. illegally as a visa overstay, was a hired cop by Old Orchard Beach PD in Maryland and admitted to trying to purchase the gun as part of his job. ICE says he first entered the U.S. lawfully by flying into Miami on September 24, 2023, but never left on his scheduled departure flight on October 1st, 2023, overstaying his visa ever since. Patricia Hyde, the field office director for ICE Boston, which arrested Evans, released a blistering statement slamming Evans' hiring as a police officer. Jean-Luc Evans not only broke U.S. immigration law, but he also illegally attempted to purchase a firearm. Shockingly, Evans was employed as a local law enforcement officer. The fact that the police department would hire an illegal alien and lawfully issue him a firearm while on duty would be comical if it weren't so tragic. We have a police department that was knowingly breaking the very law they are charged with enforcing in order to employ an illegal alien. ICE Boston will continue to prioritize public safety by arresting and removing criminal alien threats from our New England communities. And think about it. The law that was put into place to make sure that those people that aren't able to get weapons, illegals, those people that broke the law, it worked perfectly. They were alerted. They were denied. Remember, criminals, they get their firearms via the black market. This individual, yes, he was a criminal. He came into this country illegally, stayed here illegally. He never went back on his flight, and he's not a citizen. He tried to get a firearm going through the proper channels, and it worked. It shut him down, and it alerted the authorities. That's what's supposed to happen. But think about it. All the other shootings and everything else the deep state kind of sets up, they always have their individuals get their weapons on the black market. That's the majority of the time. Or they have those individuals that they're using where they can control these people. They actually take the weapons from their parents or those people that they're living with that got the weapon legally, and then they use the weapon. So once again, you could see that the laws are working, and it shut this individual down because he's not a citizen of this country and he doesn't have the right to own a weapon because he's not from this country. And what's very interesting is that we could see that everything the deep state tried to do with Trump and MAGA and the Republicans, where they tried to push the fake Epstein information, well, that is completely and utterly falling apart. Actually, I think it's fallen apart already. I think people are coming to their senses and they're starting to realize that, you know something, that was all fake. And actually, Trump, while he was out in Scotland, he pretty much confirmed that, yeah, this is all fake. It's a hoax. It's not real information. Colin Rugg put this out and said the following. President Trump suggests something was planted in the Epstein files, says they were run by the Biden administration. Those files were run by the worst scum on earth, he says. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released them. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. And he's absolutely right. If they truly had something on Trump, do you think they'd be waiting to now after he was elected? No, they would do it way before. Actually, they would do it all the way back in time, which means they really don't have anything. And Trump, he's continually dropping names, letting everyone know that, yes, Larry Summers, the former head of Harvard, he spent some time on Epstein Island. He actually mentioned Bill Clinton's name. He went there 28 times. He visited the island. So Trump is basically releasing the list of names now. MJ Truth Ultra points to post 4,577. And this is probably a partial list of those people that actually visited Epstein Island. And guess who's on it? Larry Summers, Bill Clinton. Yes, there's many, many other names. But I do believe in the end, we're going to find out that, yeah, these people actually visited there. And you can see the deep state players, the fake news, they're now running cover for these people. How do we know this? Well, during that interview in Scotland, Trump says he's never went to the island. It was a very good decision of his not to go there. But other people went to the island, like Bill Clinton. He went to the Epstein Island 28 times. When Wolf Blitzer on CNN was reporting this information, the clip that they showed actually cut the part out where he says Bill Clinton visited the island. They cut out the part where he said Larry Summers visited the island. Don't you find that interesting? Why wouldn't they want their viewers to hear that part? That's very, very interesting. Patriots Are Control put this out, so take a listen to the exchange and then listen to CNN.
I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island. Yeah.
President Trump says he never visited Jeffrey Epstein's private island. Listen.
I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
Right there, that should tell you everything you need to know. And Trump now, he's even bringing up when he threw Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. He said he threw disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago due to his inappropriate behavior. He hired help, and I said, don't ever do that again. And he did it again, he said. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did it, if you want to know the truth. So he got rid of Epstein, then he reported Epstein and gave information to the prosecutor. So everything the deep state players tried to do, it's completely backfiring. And if you notice, Trump now and his administration now, they're all saying, yes, we should release the credible information. The credible Epstein files should be released. So credible means those that are backed up with fact. Johnson is out there saying, yes, we should release the credible evidence and information. I think everyone agrees. I think the Senate proposed the idea of releasing all the Epstein information, the credible information. And you know what the D's did? They said, no, we don't want that information. We want our manipulated information. That's the information that we want. Trump said, okay, let's get the credible information from the grand jury. I'm instructing the DOJ to go to the grand jury and we want it released. Of course, you know the judges have to release it. So these are Obama judges and they don't want to release it. The one in Florida already said, nope, we're not doing it. The one in New York says, I need additional information. I do believe probably in the end, they'll probably say, no, we're not going to release this information because they're going to look through it and say, oh, crap. This actually involves the entire criminal syndicate. And if I release this information, well, the whole ship is going down here. And we're not going to do it. Not right now. Nope, not doing it. So Trump is going to turn this around going, listen, I tried to get all this information, but it seems that the Democrats don't want to release the credible information. We tried with the grand jury. We tried in the Senate. We tried everywhere. Why don't they want this information out there? It makes no sense. He turned this all around now, and now it's on them. Let's talk about our health. The science is in. A clinical trial found that just 10 grams of collagen a day for 8 weeks led to a roughly 20% increase in skin hydration and a 17% improvement in elasticity, while also visibly reducing wrinkle depth. If you want to help improve your skin health, it's clear that collagen is essential. This is why I use the Secret Magical Powder, and I'm obsessed with the results. Multi-collagen provides my skin with 5 types of premium collagen to help attack wrinkles from every angle. I'm seeing smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer lines, and more youthful glow. Plus, multi-collagen mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea. There's no clumping and zero added flavor. Do yourself a big favor and grab yourself a bag of ageless multi-collagen now for 51% off only at healthwithx22.com. Plus, by ordering today, you'll also receive free VIP life health and fitness coaching for life and a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping with your order. Once again, this offer is only available at healthwithx22.com. That's healthwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Isn't that interesting? And Dick Durbin, the one that was keeping the Epstein information, he didn't want to release it until now, which is very, very interesting. Now he's getting worried and he wants the recordings from Ghislaine Maxwell. What did she say? Who did she name? He's probably wondering, was it my name? Maybe, maybe not. But it looks like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and his entire team, they're doing an incredible job, and I do believe they're saving the children as Trump and team are pushing the Epstein information. And it looks like Operation Grayskull, they basically took down 120,000 users, millions of files, and basically they got 18 individuals, and they are now convicted in federal court, receiving a combined 300 plus years in prison. So it looks like they dismantled 4 high-traffic dark web platforms trafficking child sexual abuse materials, exposing a digital cesspool that included over 120,000 registered users and millions of illicit files. Kash and Bongino are shutting down these entire operations. And I do believe in the background, they're probably looking for these children, because you have to remember, these children are involved in all of this. And I do believe by shutting all this down, what they're doing right now is they're trying to protect them before the credible information comes out. Because again, this is the storm that Trump and team are creating right now. And I do believe the storm is going to intensify as time goes on. We'll be talking a lot more about Epstein, Russia collusion a little bit later. But first, let's go out to the UK and Scotland, because Trump, he's visiting his golf course out there. He's also meeting with different politicians, the head of the EU, because he just made a trade deal with the EU and it benefited the United States. And it looks like we had all the leverage once again. And what's very interesting is that Trump, he decided not to go to London to meet Keir Starmer. He had Keir Starmer come to him. So let's say Trump is in his country, but the leader of that country is visiting Trump. You think he did this on purpose? Absolutely. It's supposed to be the other way around. But when you have all the leverage and you have all the power, you make the leader of the country that you're in come to you. That is real power. Unbelievable. And you can see Trump now, his entire peace plan, it is working. And it looks like Thailand and Cambodia, they decided on a ceasefire. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said the following: just spoke to the acting Prime Minister of Thailand and Prime Minister of Cambodia. I am pleased to announce that after the involvement of President Donald J. Trump, both countries have reached a ceasefire and peace. Congratulations to all by ending this war. We have saved thousands of lives. I have instructed my trade team to restart negotiations on trade. I have now ended many wars in just 6 months. I am proud to be the president of peace. And I do believe that he's going to be ending the Ukraine war. It looks like the plan is going exactly the way he wanted it to go. Amuse put this out and said, the European Union has finally acknowledged what many already knew. Ukraine ranks among the most corrupt nations on earth, rivaled only by Russia. In response to growing concerns about President Zelensky's regime, the Ukrainian parliament just gutted the country's anti-corruption agency, placing them squarely under Zelensky's personal control. Trump warned us about this years ago. He was right again. And think about this. Zelensky didn't want anyone else to have the power because, again, they would come after him. They would come after many other people. So he basically took control over all of this, which is very, very interesting. And think about what Trump has done. He has now boxed in Zelensky and the EU because, once again, aid is not going to Ukraine. Weapons are not going directly to Ukraine. NATO, the EU, they are now purchasing the weapons, and they can either give the weapons to Ukraine or sell the weapons to Ukraine. Since the United States is not giving aid to Ukraine, they don't have money to keep the war going. They begged the EU, but the EU said, yeah, you know what? We're cutting you off. I'm sorry. We're not even giving you loans. So now what's happening is they're receiving no funds. If you have no funds, you can't keep the war going. If NATO and EU have to continually purchase defensive weapons, how do you attack Russia? It becomes very, very difficult, which means this is a war of attrition. Now, Trump, he gave Putin 50 days. Now, remember, he is the middleman. He doesn't want the press, the fake news to say, oh, he's Putin's puppet. So he's always going to be against Putin. I'm going to give Putin 50 days, and then we're going to place tariffs on other countries that deal with Russia. Now that the EU is not funding the war, he's now cut down the time frame to 10 to 12 days, which means in 10 to 12 days, most likely, we're going to see peace between Ukraine and Russia. It might go along a little bit longer than that, depends what happens. But remember, there's been peace negotiations in Turkey. So I do believe Trump really needed to get Ukraine, EU, and NATO on board, and he pretty much shut them down. Zelensky now can't do anything. He's trapped in all this, and the only thing he can do is negotiate peace. Of course, he's going to keep all optics on Putin. So this way, the fake news can't say, oh, Trump, he's siding with Putin. He's Putin's friend. Because you have to remember, what is he doing right now? What is his team doing right now? They're releasing the Russian collusion files. So people are looking at this going, okay, he's really hard on Putin. He says Putin's not fair. He says Putin can't make a deal. He says, I'm going to place sanctions on Putin. He's saying that Putin is the problem. Putin doesn't want peace. He's doing this on purpose. And you could see that Zelensky is the actual problem. The EU is the actual problem. The deep state, NATO is the actual problem. And now I do believe Trump, most likely in the next couple of weeks, he's going to let everyone know that there's now peace with Ukraine and Russia and shut down the entire deep state war. Basically, funding is the key. Without the funding, the deep state does not exist. And think about it. Do you really think Bill Gates, George Soros, and all these other people, corporations, do you really think they're using their own money to fund all these different organizations that the deep state created? No, they're using the laundered money to do this. And what's very interesting is that a new BMJ Global Health study has confirmed that the World Health Organization, the WHO, private fundraising arm, the WHO Foundation, has received tens of millions of dollars from pharmaceutical giants, big tech companies, and anonymous sources, with nearly half the funding now untraceable. The study findings come after U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced the United States will reject the WHO's sweeping emergency powers treaty, warning that the same unelected body now seeking global medical surveillance of every human being. From its launch until the end of 2023, the WHO Foundation disclosed total donation receipts of U.S. $82 million overall, of which U.S. $39 million, 48%, was from anonymous donations over $100,000. In total, U.S. $51 million, 62.3% in anonymous donations were reported. The top named donor was Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, long considered one of WHO's most influential funders. Let's see. Bill Gates, most likely, as we know, is involved in the pandemic. He's involved in vaccines, and he pays off the WHO. Donations varied by sector, with largest name donations coming from the private philanthropic sector, including the Gates Foundation and other family foundations, followed by social media companies, medical device companies, and the banking, finance, and pharmaceutical sectors. Secretary Kennedy recently cut off the U.S. funding to Bill Gates' vaccine syndicate Gavi, citing peer-reviewed evidence that the DTP shot it promotes may kill more children from other causes than it saves, and condemning the alliance for treating vaccine safety as a PR problem instead of a public health priority. The WHO Foundation, launched in 2020 to accept donations from entities the WHO cannot receive money from directly, now also counts Meta, Facebook, TikTok, Maybelline, Sanofi, Boehringer, and Novo Nordisk among its known funders. A majority of funds aren't even going to WHO programs. They're going to the WHO Foundation's own operational costs. Isn't this interesting where all of this is going? And Bill Gates is one of the largest anonymous donors. Very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that's really interesting is out in Cincinnati, we can see there was an event and a mob of individuals. They were black. They attacked white people. And what's very interesting about this, and End Wokeness put this out, is that there are zero AP news stories about this attack, zero Fox, zero PBS, zero New York Times, zero NPR, zero ABC, zero NBC, zero CNN. It seems that they really didn't want to report on any of this. Now, if it was the other way around and it was a group of white people attacking a black person, all these fake news outlets, they'd be reporting it like crazy. Now, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. Why are people attacking people? Because, again, what's happening right now is that the fake news, the D's and the rest, they're pushing this type of agenda. And anyone that attacks anyone like this, they should be arrested. Nick Sorter put this out and said, Cincinnati police have identified at least 4 members of the black mob who beat white tourists at the jazz festival. The city of Cincinnati is finally doing something now that Dylan put them on notice. Arrest and vigorously prosecute. Absolutely. And we could see that Dylan, she said, listen, we're going to monitor this, and if you're not doing what we need you to do, we're going to come in and we're going to get involved and we're going to arrest these people. And this is exactly what happened. She put pressure on them, and these people now have been arrested, what they should have been. And you know what's very interesting about the fake news, they don't like to report on people that have weapons that protect others. There was an individual in Traverse City, Michigan, where they were at a Walmart, and this individual went around stabbing people with a knife. And a black man with a gun and other people around him actually stopped him. He's actually a hero. But the fake news, they really don't want to report on these type of things. Now, maybe the local news is reporting on it, but again, the major outlets, they don't like to put this out there because they don't want people to know that people with guns actually save lives. Actually, more people with guns save lives than those people with guns kill people. So they don't like to report on these type of things, and they don't want to tell you that guns are a good thing. Remember, it's just a tool. If you put any type of tool in someone's hand, like a butcher's knife, yeah. If you have a crazy person taking that knife and stabbing people, yes, that tool could be used for evil. But that butcher knife could also be used to cut meat. Same thing with a weapon. Same thing with a gun, I should say. A criminal with a gun is going to use it to do evil. An upstanding citizen with a gun is going to use that gun to do good, to stop these evil people. And actually, if we had more upstanding citizens with weapons in all these different states, guess what? I think crime would go way, way down because the criminals would know, wait, this is a carrying state. I got to be careful here because I don't know if this person has a weapon. And people that conceal carry, you'll never ever know that they're actually carrying. I mean, I think people believe that, oh, I could tell if someone's carrying a weapon. No, those individuals that are carrying concealed, you will never ever know that they're actually carrying a weapon. And in those states where you're allowed to carry a weapon, most of the people around you probably have it and you don't even know it. They're keeping you safe. That's what they're doing. Now, the other thing that's really, really interesting, and we can see that this is really getting out of hand, and Amuse put this out, the Boston Police Department is actively reaching out to its growing Islamic community to recruit Islamic police officers to enforce the law and social norms in our predominantly Muslim neighborhoods. See, we shouldn't be creating police forces for certain religions. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Just like it doesn't make any sense that the House, 220 members passed a bill for Planned Parenthood to defund it. The Senate, 50 senators passed the bill. Trump signed the bill, and this judge, Talwani, overruled the House, the Senate, and the president. Think about that for a second. So this judge, who's unelected, decided, you know something, these elected people, where the people of this country elected these people, and those people that are in the House and the Senate, the representatives of the people, I don't like that, so I'm going to reverse it. Does that make any sense? I mean, this is what a tyrannical government looks like. And they're using the judiciary. This is part of the tyrannical government. They're using it to stop the elected government. Unbelievable. But you have to ask your question, why did she decide to rule against it? Well, Bonchi explains. He said, this may be the most baseless, insane ruling I've ever seen. The Biden-appointed judge ruled Congress can't defund Planned Parenthood because it might lead to unintended pregnancies and less access to contraceptives. Think about that for a second. Think about what this judge actually wrote. These judges need to be removed ASAP. But we know it's not going to happen right now because, again, we don't have control of the House and the Senate. This is why Trump wants his nominees confirmed. This is why Trump wants control of the House and Senate. And you can see he's leading up to this. He's showing you that these D's, the rhinos, they're not for us. They're against us. And when you look at Russian collusion, you could see as clear as day, the fake news protects the D's. The fake news protects the rhinos. I mean, think of John Bolton. He had information, and he decided to hide it from Trump. He's a rhino. He's a neocon. He's against America. He's for the criminal syndicate. But look what the fake news is putting out there. National Review put this out on X and says, Trump was the victim of an iniquitous, dirty trick in 2016, but Tulsi Gabbard has presented nothing new about Barack Obama's involvement. Sean Davis responded to this and said, absolute nonsense from a magazine whose writers were some of the most deranged Russian collusion hoaxers in all of corporate media in 2017 and 2018. Nothing new is nothing but lies. The fake news, they don't even have anything to spin what Tulsi put out. They have nothing to say because, again, the intelligence has been shut down and she is now declassifying the documents that actually show what Obama did, what Brennan did, what Clapper did, what Strzok did, what Page did, what all these people have done. And how do you counter this? It's very, very difficult. And think about it. The Washington Post had a fact checker, Glenn Kessler, and he tried to fact check the Russian collusion, but it looks like that is falling apart. Paul Sperry put this out and said, adios, Washington Post fact checker Glenn Kessler, a closet Dem activist, was the biggest Pinocchio of all. He lied repeatedly about VP Biden's Burisma meeting. I traced 6,000 plus from his McLean, Virginia household to Biden's and Kamala's campaign coffers. And then Paul Sperry said, the Russiagate Pulitzer winners, also known as stenographers and shills for Brennan, Clapper, and Comey, at the Washington Post and New York Times, must be holding their prizes tighter and tighter with each newly declassified document exposing the hoax and fraud they complicitly pushed. The whole thing is a gigantic lie, and they awarded these individuals who told the lie. Remember, the criminals, the deep state players, they love to reward those people that back up the criminal syndicate. That's why they're receiving the reward. You lied for us, I'm going to give you a reward. You killed for us, I'm going to give you a reward. Why do you think Obama invited all these people to the White House? Why do you think he was awarding them the Medal of Honor or whatever medal it was? Because he was saying, thank you for protecting the criminal syndicate. That's what they do. And the Pulitzer Prize went to the New York Times and Washington Post because they said, thank you for protecting the criminal syndicate. And it looks like Tom Cotton is in a little bit of trouble here. John Basham put this out and said, D.C. sources tell me the Republicans on the Senate Intelligence Committee, chaired by Senator Tom Cotton, are crafting legislation that would start restricting Gabbard from reviewing and releasing to the public deep state and intel files showing they've been criminal. General Flynn said, why, Tom Cotton? This is starting to look really bad for you. So the question is this true? Is this what's really happening right now? Well, Data Republican kind of confirmed it a little bit, but we'll have to see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. But the other thing that's really interesting is that newly declassified portions of Susan Rice's email confirm that Michael Flynn was personally targeted during a January 5th Oval Office meeting with Obama. Michael Flynn was personally targeted during a crucial January 5th, 2017 Oval Office meeting arranged by then President Obama, a newly declassified document shows. On January 20th, 2017, as Trump was being inaugurated, White House National Security Advisor Susan Rice sent herself a bizarre email detailing the January 5th meeting between her, Obama, then Vice President Joe Biden, then Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates, and fired former Federal Bureau of Investigations Director James Comey. In the email, portion of which were not declassified until recently, Rice recorded that Flynn, who at the time was the incoming National Security Advisor for Trump, was personally discussed and targeted during the meeting with Obama. Documents previously released and declassified show that the FBI never possessed any evidence that Flynn was a secret Russian agent or that he had broken any laws. An FBI electronic communications closing the agency's counterintelligence investigation against him, which was dated January 4th, made clear that no derogatory information about Flynn had been obtained during the months-long investigation of Flynn. You mean the whole thing was a lie? Of course it was. And they hid the truth from we, the people. This is what a tyrannical government does. Remember, they had control over everything. When people say, why weren't there arrests? Why wasn't anything done? Because when you control it all, do you really think there was going to be arrests? Think about how long it took Trump and we, the people, to gain control of these agencies right now. They're still cleaning them out. Do you really think we can prosecute people at this time? With what judges? Think about it. Think logically. When we have control and we remove the judges, when we clean out all the agencies, when Trump and the Patriots and we, the people, have full strength, yes, that's when you have accountability. Why leave it to chance? Why would you want a case to go in front of Judge Boasberg? Think about it for a second. It makes no sense whatsoever. Svetlana Lokhova put this out and said, how do you think Obama replies to Brennan giving him news of the Clinton plan to dirty up Donald Trump? Oh no, it's terrible. Arrest Hillary. Nope. Obama asks any evidence of collaboration between Trump campaign and Russia as per Brennan's handwritten notes. Obama was just told Hillary made it all up. So James Comey responded, redacted, but there were four bullet points. Are they names of Trump advisors to be investigated? Mike Benz responds to this and says, how in the flying F Has this document not been fully declassified yet? Yeah, we need to see this. We need to see what they did. They were told it's all fake. Very, very interesting. The other thing that's really, really interesting, and you can see the deep state players, they're definitely panicking right now because Peter Strzok decided to delete all his posts on X. Kyle Becker put this out and said, the corrupt FBI agent who led Clinton's server and Trump-Russia collusion investigations, Peter Strzok, just deleted all his X posts. This comes amid a slew of criminal referrals sent to the DOJ over the Russia hoax. Good morning. And then Hans said, why did the Wayback Machine scrub Strzok's tweets? Who gave the order? Well, I think on the Wayback Machine, you could do it yourself. Actually, when you put his URL in for x.com, Peter Strzok, it comes up, sorry, this URL has been excluded from the Wayback Machine. Sean Davis responded and said, why would Strzok, in the midst of a sprawling federal and criminal investigation of the Russia collusion hoax, nuke all his tweets and then direct the Wayback Machine to eliminate the archive of his tweets? Because he's guilty. He's trying to cover it up. It's not going to work. Because the cover-up always gets you in the end. And actually, this proves that he's guilty. Holy crap, these people are stupid. And we can see that CIA Chief John Radcliffe, he's letting us know that, yes, indictments are coming. And he's going to declassify a lot of information. Paul Sperry put this out and said, sources close to CIA Chief John Radcliffe tell me he's declassified all CIA equities in Special Counsel John Durham's report, including interview transcripts, appendices, investigative notes, and DOJ is poised to release while organized crime strike force vets for evidence. Wow, the transcripts. This is going to be very, very interesting. So think about it. Obama, Comey, and the rest, they pushed this investigation. They spent $32 million. I think, yes, these people should go to jail, but they should also pay back everything that they spent on the fake investigation. They spent $32 million of the people's money. That's not even including how much they paid off the fake news. I think they should repay all this money. The whole thing is fake. And like we said before, Radcliffe says John Brennan, James Comey, and Hillary Clinton are likely to be indicted. So when are they going to pull the trigger? When is it going to happen? This is going to be very, very interesting. And think about it. What about Barack Obama? Well, you have to remember the Supreme Court ruled that, yes, the president does have immunity, but he has immunity up until January 20th, 2017. Because at noon, Trump was inaugurated. So anything prior to that, he has immunity. After that, he's no longer the president. And the grand conspiracy never ends. Actually, John Radcliffe confirms that. That no, the grand conspiracy has continued since that time. So Obama can be brought up on charges as a co-conspirator or the conductor of it all. Think about what has happened here. Obama is trapped in all of it. Pragmatic put this out and said, Trump's people are running an information operation designed to inform the public about what is coming. Radcliffe makes criminal referrals for Brennan and Comey. Tulsi goes on new shows accusing Obama of seditious conspiracy. Today, Radcliffe tells the world that all the conspirators, including Obama, can be charged because none have withdrawn from the conspiracy, which continues to this day. Have they withdrawn? Are they continually pushing the idea that, yes, there's been Russian collusion? So there is no statute of limitations. Yes, Trump can still get them all, and he's going to. Let's go back to a couple of posts here. Post 4615, July 28, 2020. Nice Delta. Information warfare. That's exactly what we're in. 1743, July 28, 2018. A question on the board from an Anon says, will this still be the month the world discovers the truth and what we Anons know is conspiracy no more? Down below, the response was the truth revealed? FISA dossier, important marker, think connections, D5. Then let's go back to post 1745, July 28, 2018. FISA equals start. FISA equals immediate confirmation of illegal acts, are e-signers. FISA equals immediate confirmation start of Hussein's spy campaign to rig an election was based on false info. FISA equals implicates Hillary Clinton D Party as feeders of false info with the intent of securing mainstream media and blast insurance. FISA equals implicates senior members of UK, MI5, MI6, CIS, US Intel, White House, Five Eye, Republican Party, Congress, Senate of known corruption in an effort to retain power and rig election, plus safeguard events by political kill to act while in power given mainstream media fake push Russia narrative. FISA equals ties mainstream media heads, TV behind Corp, to D Party with other foreign heads of state in cooperation strategy. FISA brings down the House. Freedom of Information Act request does not include FISA. Declassed by POTUS key parts that factually demonstrate the dirty fake dossier was used as primary source to secure highest level of intel spying on primary Republican opponent, plus post-election intel assets for domestic spying on the President of the United States for the office of the Presidency of the United States of America, logical thinking, public awareness, FISA spying, foundation built, Huber, and we could see that everything that was said back then is now coming true. Future proves the past. And that's exactly what we're witnessing today. And we were told, going all the way back to 2018, this is what we were going to find out. It is no longer a conspiracy, but a fact. And the people of this country are now learning about the facts. And the deep state players, the problem they're having is that they can't counter the facts. They can try to spin, but they're not making sense because as more information comes out, it gets worse and worse for them. And this is what Trump wanted. He wanted the entire country to come together, and he wanted the entire country to know who the true enemy really is. Cynical Publius put this out and said, I spent some time lately suggesting that we can and should try to make the Democrats in our lives understand how awful Russiagate actually was and is. I get tons of responses along the lines of, they'll never listen. Really? Well, consider this. Most Democrats now acknowledge that the Steele dossier was a hoax. Most, not all. I know we still have those Japanese soldiers hiding on remote Pacific Islands in 1970, still fighting for the emperor. Think about that for a second. The Steele dossier was once the bedrock upon which Democrat Trump hate was built. But because we were relentless in exposing its lies, it's now understood to be a total hoax. That means we can do the same with all the other Russiagate lies Democrats currently believe. Be kind, but be relentless. Show them facts. Make them understand the evil they have been supporting. Do not stop. And before you go all doomster on me, whoever believed the Berlin Wall would fall. And I do believe he's absolutely right. Because, again, the people must know the truth. You think they're going to learn it from CNN? You think they're going to learn it from MSNBC? I mean, we can see already that CNN, Wolf Blitzer, is cutting off the part where Trump says Clinton visited the island 28 times. They didn't want their people to hear that. But I do believe with social media and now people talking about it, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for them. And once again, they're going to be losing the narrative on this. And the D's, they're going to wake up to the fact that this entire Russia thing was a gigantic lie. If that's a lie, then almost everything else then is a lie. And eventually what they'll do as time goes on, they will accept what the deep state has done, which means they will know who the enemy really is. Sometimes it's very, very hard to accept because when you're brainwashed and when you're continually brainwashed over and over and over and you hear the truth, you kind of say, that's impossible. How could that be? And I think now people are starting to hear it from all different areas, and it's going to get worse and worse for the fake news. It's going to get worse and worse for the deep state players. And this is why Trump wants his nominees confirmed, because he needs these people in place. He needs his people that he's endorsing to get elected for the House. those people that he's endorsing for the Senate. He needs these people to get elected because we need full and utter control of the entire situation. And you remember, the Senate and House, they still have swamp creatures in there, and they must be removed. And I do believe they will be removed. And remember, Trump has the ability to adjourn the House and the Senate. Remember, the House right now, they're on recess. So the Senate right now is deciding what they're going to do. Trump can say, listen, they're having a disagreement. This is no good. I'm going to adjourn both. They're recessing. And the deep state players, they probably know that he has the ability to do this. And they're trying to figure out a way where they can stop him from getting his nominees confirmed. But I think in the end, they're going to fail, just like with everything else. And once he gets these individuals confirmed, he's going to have a lot more control, which means he's going to come out with a lot more information. You know what he's doing right now? He's building the storm. And the storm is getting stronger and stronger. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.